Hey, vinyl community, Jeff back again. Time for another one of my little 10 great albums from series. I've been working myself up. I think I started many moons ago in 1977. This is 10 great albums that I have on vinyl from a specific year. And it has been getting increasingly harder as we get into this, because now we're up to 2001. I really thought I'd have a harder time, but the thing that's kind of neat, obviously you think about it, as we work our way through the 90s and 2000s, vinyl was not being made at the time. And so finding things on vinyl would be harder. My musical styles may have been a little different, so I probably didn't have a lot of stuff from those years that you would think maybe made the vinyl, but I was surprised that I actually had, these are just 10, not like they're ranked, not like they're my 10 favorite, happens to be 10 that I own that were originally 2001 releases. The vinyl may not be, because a lot of these have been reissued. Some of them have been reissued to where if I tried to do this video, a year ago, I probably didn't have them because they have been reissuing stuff, and so the things are out there now. So yeah, so we're up to 2001 things that were released in 2001 that I currently have on vinyl. We're starting with Alice Cooper's Dragontown. This was a time frame for Alice Cooper and me that I really enjoyed, when you had Brutal Planet and Dragontown were like two really heavy albums of pretty much some of his heaviest stuff, before he started going back to the more I don't know what you call it, shock rocky type stuff, with like Dirty Diamonds and Eyes of Alice Cooper and all that stuff. Kind of started going back into that older style, but these albums were just top-notch, really heavy stuff. So there's a great one there. I still have great fond memories of that. Down to Earth, I showed this in the recent Ozzy video I did. Again, not sure if it's an official or unofficial release, but Ozzy did have a release in 2001. And then, it's pretty good. Some of the stuff in these years were hit or miss, but I'm an Ozzy fan, so I'm going to get it because it's Ozzy. All right, the Silver Cord is Severed by Mortification. One of my favorite Mortification albums. They change styles quite often, from death metal to grindcore to straight up metal type. And this is one of the albums. It's a little more, as far as the vocals go, a little more straightforward metal. This and Relentless and some of the albums in this time frame were some of my favorite, because I really enjoyed that style of singing. I mean, I love the old stuff too. It's just different styles, but these gravitate towards my upper list a little more, just because the styles are a little more, palatable to the ear. All right, Manic Moonlight by King's X. King's X dropped one here, and I almost had, because in the same year, King's X and Doug Pennick's Pound Hound released an album. I didn't pull a Pound Hound, but that's his side project, and he released an album from that and King's X in 2001. King's X, though, they made the cut. When this album came out, I gotta admit, I was kind of like, it was weird. It seemed like they've changed styles a little too. Their first couple albums, very consistent. First 3 or so, first 4. First few, and then Dogman was kind of odd. Grew to love it. And then they've got some changing of styles over the years. This one was another one that kind of changed styles, but have just fallen in love with it. So yeah, it's just one of those things. You got to grow with the band, and it took me a little time. And speaking of, I should have put this in the other order, with Severed by Mortification. We got Silver Side Up by Nickelback. Yeah, this is the one with all the big hits. This is the one where they really, Never Again, How You Remind Me. These are, I think this is where I discovered them. This is where I discovered them with the big hits, and fell in love with their style. Still love them to this day. I'm a Nickelback fan. What can I say? We'll just move on before you all ridicule me too much. No Doubt Rocksteady. When this came out, I was, I had the previous albums, and I really enjoyed them. This album to me felt very different, very much more dance-driven, electronica feeling. Just anyway, absolutely probably still one of my favorite albums, though. I fell in love with this album. It had a real dance vibe, obviously very different than anything I was listening to at the time, and I just kind of gravitated to them because they were kind of quirky, and I thought Gwen was kind of cute, so it was kind of like, let's listen to them and everything. And they got to this, and I'm like, this is way outside the realm of music that I typically would listen to, but fell in love with it. Just absolutely, probably one of my favorite albums by them. All right, so speaking of solo albums with Doug Pinnick, here's a solo album from James LaBrie. Now, it's been reissued and marketed as a James LaBrie album, but it was actually the band name Mullmuzzler, and this was Mullmuzzler 2. There was a Mullmuzzler first album. Not exactly sure why he did a name and not James LaBrie like it's been marketed now. I don't know why it wasn't considered a solo album. Of course, him being the singer from Dream Theater, why he went with the band name. But after 2 albums as Mullmuzzler, he dropped that and started doing solo albums under his name. So very different, very alternative feeling, very different from Dream Theater, of course, and very different from his solo stuff, which is straight up metal at times, just straight up stuff. But anyway, cool stuff. Glad that those got reissued on vinyl. Here's one I showed not too long ago in my Savatage collection, and that is the final album, Poets and Madmen by Savatage. Their last studio album was dropped in 2001, and again recently reissued in the past 2 years on vinyl for our listening pleasure. So absolutely some great stuff there. Bridge Across Forever, Transatlantic, just one of my favorite modern prog bands, super groups made up of guys from Marillion and Flower Kings and Dream Theater and Spock's Beard, and they got together and did a couple albums in the early days, and then they have been back together putting out albums ever since after a break. Absolutely love it. This is one of the early ones, and it's just some great stuff on these early releases, so definitely great there. And Unholy Terror by W.A.S.P. Not one of my favorite W.A.S.P. albums, but I'm a W.A.S.P. fan, so I had to get it. It is an unofficial release. I don't know if they'll ever officially release it, but we did go with this as, you know, it's what it is back in the day, and it was great stuff. Most of the albums in this time frame, personally, this and, you know, some of the ones around this album, they kind of, you know, Neon God, some of that, they kind of blur together. I didn't spend as much time listening individually to each of them, and so they kind of blur together as far as trying to remember the songs, but still great W.A.S.P. stuff too. There you go, 2001. Where are we gonna be led in 2002? I don't know. Hopefully, continuing to release stuff, I'll have enough to show. That's it for this one. Just some fun stuff from 2001. I'll see you later. Rock on and rock hard.